Well, it's very interesting. So there's a radiotherapy session at BTOG, and the radiotherapy specialists, clinical oncologists, are basically in charge of deciding what they're going to discuss. They decided that this was going to be the focus of attention for this meeting, and invited me as a medical oncologist to have a debate with them about PCI in small cell and whole brain. So I think several things to say. Firstly, it's very telling that that was felt to be something worth discussing. So I get a sense that there's a growing realization that the UK is perhaps a bit of an outlier in terms of brain care management, this was a good opportunity to discuss potential treatments that are out there. I think the reality is that things are changing dramatically in the context of what is possible in controlling metastatic disease to the brain, and we now are in the position essentially where we do have a significant number of patients who are living longer and longer and longer with active systemic treatments who have stage 4 lung cancer. And so think about chemotherapy, think about targeted therapies in mutation-positive patients, think about chemoimmunotherapy and immunotherapy. We're starting to get long-term survival data showing significant numbers of from subsets of these patients can be alive 4 or 5 years down the line. Now that is very, very important. It means that we really need to reflect on brain metastasis management, because the longer people are living, the more likely they are to develop brain metastases at some point. And we already know that certain subtypes of lung cancer, particularly ALK and ROS1, have a particular propensity for brain metastases. So I think the UK is really still in a transition in this area. There are lots of functional and organisational reasons that limit the use of SRS in this country. Part of it is to do with who has the authority to give it. Its use is restricted to certain centres. There are fairly strict but clinically sensible guidelines from the commissioners at NHS England about the types of patients who are eligible for this treatment. There are neuro-oncology MDMs primarily built to manage patients with primary brain cancers, and now we're asking these people to look after or give opinions and treat patients who have stage 4 lung cancer. And so in the vast majority of cases, neuro-oncology units, the oncologists there are probably not lung oncologists. They're probably doing other things as well. They may not have much experience of where we are with systemic treatment in lung cancer and what's possible. On top of that, there are a small number of neuro-oncologists who also treat lung cancer. And so, you know, there's a lot of variation in practice, I think, and that's really not very good. And it raises all sorts of issues about access to care. Are people getting appropriate care? Are life expectancy outcomes that we're seeing being influenced by this supposed or perceived underusage of SRS in brain met management? I think there's a significant body of oncologists, thoracic specialists who are coming to the conclusion that, this is an issue, and it may be a key issue in reflecting why our survival figures for things like outpatients are not comparable to what we're seeing in North America or even, Europe, other Western economies. So, I mean, this is an area that is evolving rapidly. There are differences in practice. There are differences in opinion from neuro-oncology MDMs. They can often make different opinions. I interact with several in my routine day-to-day job, and I see that. So this is something we need to work on.